of the city. And I think it's really important to discuss in some ways, which is what Jean-Baptiste is going to do, the relationship between representations of the city and the way that those representations are mediated through digital film and also research that's made about the city, questions of urbanism and so on. What I find particularly interesting is the way that Jean-Baptiste has made research now going back to the 18th century city, looking at 19th century paintings and trying to discover what the fabric of the city itself was about. But at the same time, these paintings, because they form the setting of Eric Rohmer's film, which is now in English going to be called The Lady and the Duke and opens on the 15th of February, have to also acknowledge their relationship with the camera and the position of the viewer, which is that of the camera. So this debate somehow between painting, film, notions of distortion that happen in relation to the urban fabric and the rediscovery of the city itself provides an incredibly rich set of backgrounds for the work that we have here. And it's really great that we have been able to convince you to have this exhibition. I'd like also to take this opportunity, because I obviously couldn't do it last night in the exhibition, of all the people who worked on the exhibition. So please welcome Jean-Baptiste Marot.
Thank you. So I'm going to speak to you about only the, wait a minute, location shot of the film. Because on the film, all the location shots were paintings, but the interiors are a built set. My English is very bad, so you have to excuse me by advance. So, I have to have the full screen map, please. So how I do? Yeah.
Is it not view show? Let's try.
It is the last point. So I show you the Wernicke map. It is a map from the 18th century that I use to do the paintings and to have the right measurement of Paris to make the paintings and to make the view. So the story of the Lady and the Duke, it's a story of English woman who writes her memories in the 18th century, and it's told about under the revolution, the French Revolution. It will be very difficult because I can't read, but she had a house in Paris, and for the film I have to show by the paintings all the place she is moving in Paris. So the story, she is the mistress of the Duke of Orleans, who is the brother of the king, and at this period in France, the brother of the king lives in this place called the Palais Bourbon, just in front of the Louvre and the Palais des Tuileries there. It is the center of Paris. So, she lives here, and she goes to see her mistress, her whole mistress, because he has another who live there. So I have to do some paintings about this way and about all the moving of the main character, because it will be a bit difficult. Okay. The film story comes from Grace Elliott's Memories book, an aristocratic English woman who lived in Paris during the French Revolution, who was the Duke d'Orléans' mistress, and we showed her braveness hiding and wounded fugitive in this story. No, I cannot do that. So I show you the slide one by one, and I will tell you the story. I think it's the best way. So this is the view from her mansion. So you can see Paris and some element of the older paintings that I will show you later, like the Tuileries that I show you on the map. There. She lived there. So we have the point of view in this direction. And we have the Église Saint-Roch, Church Saint-Roch, and the Rue Saint-Honoré. We can see the Rue Saint-Honoré by the roof, because the roof of this church and this church is on the Rue Saint-Honoré. And behind we have the Louvre. After that, this is the paintings of the yard of the mansion, and before that it was the street, the Miromeni Street. There. And the view is on the Champs-Élysées, there. And there, the other one, it is Monceau, what we call Monceau in Paris. Now it is a garden, a square, where lives the Duke. So you can see the Duke come from his house and go to see Grace, and after that he goes to the north and to go to his mansion of Monceau. There. So we can see this is the mansion of Grace, and we can see it is very protected place. It's distant from the street. This is the house of the Duke of Orleans, the Palais Royal. This is the street of Saint-Honoré. We can see Église Saint-Roch. There. You go there, take the Saint-Honoré street, go there. When he goes on this way, he has his carrots, he's in his carrots, and Rohmer wanted to put this panel that write on it Duplay Menuisier. It was someone who rent a room to Robespierre. So in the story, the Duke cannot see the panel, so he cannot know that Robespierre was already there in Paris. I have to explain to you that I have a problem because normally I have all the slide and I choose the slides like that, so it's difficult for me to show the right one. So after that, he have to. The story of Grace Elliott is the moving of Grace Elliott. She has to escape Paris sometime. From his house by this woman. And she wrote in her memory that her house was the last one of the street. That means Rohmer wanted to show, he wanted to show by the paintings how Paris was. in fact, for him it was very difficult to film in Paris now, because there is the modern street. It's impossible to, you know, to have the Place de la Concorde and the big place in Paris to, you know, to put away all for filming. So I think it shows the paintings for the reason it was the mode of representation of this period, and also to be very close to the eyes of the 18th century, to all the characters' eyes, and to have, and by this way, to have, to be close to the cultural eye of these characters. So this is Toll House of Ledoux, who is an architect of the 18th century that you know, I'm sure. It is the Grace Elliott have to pass by this Toll House to go to her mansion in Meudon, and I think Rohmer wanted to show at this period Paris was like a jail. All the people was watching them, and you know, the less classes take the power. So the less classes were always in the street. He shows when he shows the mansion of Grace, he shows the place where the concierge or where the domestic live, and it's like, you know, not a face-to-face, but you know, a front. It's an affrontment between the eyes of Grace Elliott, that is, he's an aristocratic person, and the eyes of the less classes, because the power change, the authority change, and I think that Rohmer wanted to show is there were no protection at all for Grace Elliott. In fact, the guard and the guard goes often to her mansion and goes until her bedroom. She is not quiet at all at this period. So she has to escape from Paris, and this is the wall was in Paris, surrounding Paris, and and the Toll House was between the wall. So this is the road of Meudon, and she goes up to her cottage in Meudon, to another protected location to her. And always on the paintings I have to show how the domestic live and how they can see her, and how can she how can she see the domestic also, because there is only one you know, the location shot was immobility. So I have to show by the paintings all the move, or the possibility of the move in 10 or 12 seconds. And the spectator have to know, like in a theater, where the people have to go, and where the character have to go, where do they come from, etc. Her house in the day, and the view she has from Meudon to Paris. So this is we can recognize Paris. It's not evident, but we can recognize the Invalides and recognize the Place de la Concorde and some other monuments. This is the same in the film. There is also, Rohmer wanted to show the season and the time passing. The Toll House of Meudon in the day, This is the Palais Bourbon. She took the bridge of Paris often to show she's the Invalide that we saw on the view of Meudon. This is a place that exists in Paris. It is the Rue de l'Ancry. It is a little street in the north of Paris, and for the same reason, to the immobility of the paintings, I have to show all the possibility of the circulation, the possibility of circulation of the character. So I have to show where do they come from, where the concierge can see them, where do they have to go, etc., etc. They go there. And it is all the paintings of the Rue de Méroménil and of the Mansion of Grace. And on the first paintings, we have something like that, and to show the time past, we change and have this one. And it's the fugitives that Grace Elliott protect have to hide himself in this part of the building because there is some domestic there, and they can told to the guard that there is a fugitive, etc. So it's like in a theater. There is one spectator, and the painting is composed for the understanding, for a quick understanding of the situation of the characters, and also to show Paris transforming by the time, transforming in the story of the film, and locate precisely where they have to go and where do they come from. And all the detail of the architectures would be validated by an historian because Rohmer didn't want any mistake or any I don't know or any anachronism. So it is the same view the night. Always to show the light, I put everywhere some light possible that to show there is someone in the porch, in the mansion, can see the action, can spy, in fact, the main character and the move of the main character. So Paris from the Louis XVI bridge. It's a very new bridge built with stone of the Bastille, destroyed a few years ago. And we can see the Tuileries there, and all Paris. And you can see Notre Dame and some aristocratic mansion there. This one exists again, it is a museum. And there is now it is Musée d'Orsay here. This is what we can see. It is a tower to keep the water from the Seine and distribute it to the house. So the Tuileries Palais doesn't exist now. Just this part of the building, yes. So we can see now Notre Dame. We are in the center of Paris. It's a very old district. The other side of this Île de la Cité, we can see Notre Dame, the tower there, called l'Horloge, and the tower that I told you just a few moments for keeping the water from the Seine doesn't exist now. Inside the Île de la Cité, this painting was inspired by the photograph that Marville took before the destruction by Haussmann to do the Grand Boulevard and to do the big road for the carriers, for the circulation. Another point of view of history of the Rue de l'Ancry. This building exists. this is another paintings in the evening of the Mansion of Grace. This street doesn't exist. So so this is the Rue de Miromesnil, the now. This is Rue Saint-Honoré. This building is a very old building of the 18th century, exists again, and there it was inspired by an etching of the 18th century. The same place. No, it's a little big, I think. The Rue de Saint-Honoré, again, to show the Église Saint-Roch. I just transformed. In fact, to show a painting like that for this movie, I have to change many things. In fact, because I have to have in the frame of the movie, I have to do understanding by the spectators all the circulation that I told you, and for that I have to make some little transformation of the map of the space of Paris. And this is an example for these paintings. I have to put off some stairs to have the church more in the streets. And I have to have the facade of the building. I have to pivot them, that we can understand there is some doors and someone can go out from the doors, etc. The same, the Porte Saint-Denis. For these paintings is the same. I will show you on the movie what exactly is the transformation I have to do for this work. Porte Saint-Denis now. Place de la Concorde now. All right. So I'm going to speak to you about the most interesting things for me, for my work, because is to show the different that Rohmer insists always of the situation of her main character. So he showed many paintings. He wanted to have many paintings of the Rue de Miromesnil, and the spectator knows, oh, she is in this place. She knows where she has to go, etc. So for the movie, I have to know exactly the measurement for the moving of the character. So I have to use a computer and a program to modelize the space and to modelize the monument. After that, this program was used by a technician who put it in the studio and put the mark of the measurement of all the buildings, and after that we have just to put the camera at the same place that I have put the point of view of the painting, and and the character was exactly in the same perspective. So the mix of the two images, the character is in an empty studio, just paint in one color, and after that, this color was not on the character, so we have to put off the color of these images and to mix it with the image of the painting and to film it in the same perspective, and after that just to have some work for the shadows and something like that. And after that, in the movie, I think you can see in the gallery on the little TV, you see the character moving in Paris and moving in the. So, I do this movie to show that I have to measure the stairs and they built for the stairs. They built in the studio stairs in the color, and they put off after that. So. So I didn't modelize all the paintings, just when it was important, because there was two locations for the camera on the same place, like for this one, because it's starting for one of the paintings of the Rue Saint-Honoré, and it goes to other one. To a shot and a reverse shot. So, for the Porte Saint-Denis, for example, you're going to see what is exactly the map of this place. So normally, the building there is behind this one is very far away in the reality. But to express this place in the best, to express very quickly this place, I have to do this changement. So it was to put this Porte Saint-Martin, called Porte Saint-Martin, very near the Porte Saint-Denis, that we can recognize immediately it. And for you can see in the angle of view, you can see the Porte Saint-Denis is a little pivoting. I pivot a little the Porte Saint-Denis, just to show the door in the movie, in the picture, because if I had to use a real lens, a focal lens of a camera, in the reality it couldn't be there. You can see that the building is it's transformed. It's a little pivoting, because for this reason it was that the program of the computer is not exactly the right perspective. It's not the perspective of a lens of a camera. There is only 2 points of view on a program like that. It's a program. It's AutoCAD. I think you know this program for architecture. So I have to measure the porch for the carrots that will pass through the porch, and I have to for that I go to Paris with to measure what could be a porch of the 18th century. And we did many tries in studio with carrots to know how they do at this period to drive. So we're going to see the Place de la Concorde now. So in fact, these paintings come from a sketch that I made of my remember of the place. Because for the scenography, for the moving of the character, I have to show different things. I have to express very quickly the Place de la Concorde, and I have to show the circulation of grace going through in front of the camera like that. And to have these paintings, to have this view, in fact it is impossible. After that I tried to have a view comes from the reality, and with this view it was not possible to have all the elements of the place, so it was more difficult that the place will be recognized. For example, this place, the center of the place, I put it nearer the camera, not in the center in fact, and you can see that that is the losange and not a square. In the reality, the Place de la Concorde is a square. So maybe you can ask me some question, because it's a little difficult for me to you know to tell the story in English and to tell the work I did for that. So if you have some question about the yes.
I'm not quite sure how it works in the film. Are these paintings these sort of establishing shots that go into the...
So you mean where how I do the paintings?
Well, not necessarily how you do the paintings, but how they work in the film.
Oh, in fact, yes. In fact, for the film, we photograph the paintings, and after that, we digitalize the paintings and we put in a computer. So, the movie was the film was made by the video. In video, you can put off what you choose to put off. If you choose to put off a color, you put off. So the character were filming in a studio in one color. So it was an empty studio, and the character didn't have this color on her face and on them. And after that, they put out this color and they put the paintings behind and they mix the two images. So if we measure exactly the characters, and if we film it in the same perspective of the perspective of the painting, we can believe that they are in the street, for example. So this is the process of the incrustation. I don't know the term in English. And Rohmer chose to choose this process because he has the idea of the film 10 years ago, but the technique was not so economic at this period. So he waited until he thought, oh, now I can do this film. But it was the idea of the film, it was 10 years old.
Did you have a lot of time to research how it was done?
Yes, in fact, there was an historian on the film who worked, but I worked very soon, very soon in the making of the film, in the production of the film.
10 years ago?
No, not 10 years ago. No, the idea was 10 years ago, but when he thought it was possible, it was 2 years before the filming in studio. So I work 18 months for the film, before the filming, in fact. And the work was 6 months. It was the first part of the work. It was to do a storyboard of all the paintings, and I met Eric Rohmer every week, and he told me where the character have to go, where they mention, and in fact sometimes he don't know, because he wanted that I say he wanted that there is no mistake, historical mistake. So in fact he shows the mention Rue de Miromesnil, but we know now it was not the mention, but it was too late. So maybe it was the house of the main character, but in fact we don't know.
Because there was no mention there?
No, there was mention, but we have no. He didn't find the document who prove it was exactly, because when he wants something, it had to be exactly the. In fact, for the painting, you see some painting for the evening, for the morning, for the night, and in the Memory of Grasse, it was the evening, the night, etc. And for the position of the moon, for example, in the painting of the night, he knows, he has the book of the, the height of the moon, and where could be where it could be, and I haven't. Fortunately, I didn't do the sky, so because, and he's very he wants very exact things on the paintings. I did some research to know if there has some publicity, some enseigne, something like that in the street, and in fact, in the 2 years of the story was told, there were a law in Paris that forbidden all those publicity. So we put off of the paintings the panel, panel for the shop, etc. Because there was too much accident, I think.
That's quite lucky.
Yeah. There were also many things to do. So I told you for the process of my work, I did some storyboard and to choose the place and to choose the location of the camera, only with some sketch. And in the same time, I prepared the. I want some water. Mr. Michael? So in the same time, I was preparing with the computer the place that I know it doesn't change, but in fact the computer authorized me to change the place of the camera, so it was easy for me after that to manage the changement of the scenography and of the scenario, because in the beginning I never used a computer, so I didn't know how it works. But when I saw what Rohmer asked me, I think I have to learn that.
Yeah, you just answered my question, actually.
Yes.
I was wondering about the order of painting and the computer.
Yeah.
That you use the computer as a guide to the painting, as well as using it to...
In fact, with Eric Rohmer, I only show him some two-dimensional images. It was the sketch or the paintings. So he never saw until that I do an exhibition in Paris, the work I do for he never see. But because it was not important, because the idea for him was to show Paris by the painting, so I have to agree with him and of this to these things, and not to my work and to how I do it. It was just I have to do these paintings and never mind how I do it, but that one thing more interesting him it was to not have any mistake. historical mistake and something like that. And in fact, we never speak very often of paintings and of painters. Only if we find some paintings in the 18th century could represent a part of Paris that we need for the film, but not of the, you know, of the manner of a painter and something like that. It was, I think the painting was considered only like a document, like a photograph, in fact, to know. And I saw that there were many paintings. They have some, they do some relative, they never do exactly the reality of the space. So that's the reason that I very quickly I use some map, because at this period it was a period that the map begins to be very exact. And the map I use, that I show you, is considered in France one of the first exact map of Paris, and it was in the end of the 18th century, and in fact just in the moment of the story.
Did you change very much your style of painting for?
No, but in fact I learned many things, because there were some things that you know, there is a difficulty in these paintings. It is to show, you know, the perspective and the street. I show you on a painting. Because, yes. So I don't know how to do that. Yes. Thank you. So, for example, something difficult to paint is to have some little detail in perspective. This is difficult to paint. Generally, I never paint that, because it's a little boring. And you know, all this detail, it's boring also. So I don't. I prefer to paint modern architecture because it's more simple. Yes.
Did you have to paint the evening?
Yeah.
You didn't.
Did the film sort of render qualities of painting?
No, in fact, when you, I don't know if someone sees the film, but there is you know, there is something loose in the process of the reproduction of the paintings. Even when you see that and you see the paintings, I knew in the beginning I knew that it would be something like that, but it was not very important, because I told you it is the idea to show Paris by this way by this way of reproduction. It was. I think it is also to show for us that it was at this period the only way to do some images in color. So, for Rohmer, it's to show to us that is to be more close than the 18th century mood. But for me, I wanted to do an exhibition to show how were the paintings, because I think it is interesting to show the painting and the work need to the film. Oh, it is oil paintings on the wood. In fact, it's a MDF wood, PDF, and I have to, to create the techniques. In fact, because for me, because I didn't know, but I have to print. I do the draw, and after that, I print the draw on the painting, on the wood, in fact, with an enduit, a color, a white color on it, and I have to find the right white color can support the way of I print it with a very a strong trichloroethylene. I don't know if it's the same term in English, and because I want to paint it in oil. With oil painting, because it is more for the detail and many things like that, it is easy. But I think it is it's a technique from clair-obscur, simple technique to do the shadow in a brown way, and the paintings that the painter do before the Impressionist or before Turner. Is the only way they know to show the reality and to. So the painters that I look and that I watch, it was Poussin, because many of these paintings of the the Enlèvement des Sabines, and we have a scene with many people in a town, and we have a very perspective way with monument, and there is so much paintings with Poussin, because there is many stones on the paintings, and many the wall are in stone, and for the Église Saint-Roch, for example, it was interesting for that. But I have to know all the painters of the 18th century also in Paris, because it was the Paris the Paris that I look for. So.
Did they have to change to put some certain special lights on the actors to match?
In fact, in the studio they put a light, general light, everywhere, and after they do the shadows under the characters in post-production with the computer. So, in fact, in the beginning, Rohmer wanted to have not shadows on the street. They want to have a gray sky, and then he thought it will be no problem because it will be no shadow under the character, etc. But it was very boring paintings, not very sad. So he changed his mind.
I'm fascinated by how you transfer this to the blue screen studio, and how you take something that's not going to be in a small space, but in a really large space, and how you take the coordinates of where people should be within the space where everything is the same colour, and you don't have an obvious prop of a chair, a table, a door in front of you. How you plot it in that kind of space? Is it by computer or is it by sight?
Oh, you mean how I didn't understand all what you tell me, but you mean how I think the space of the paintings?
How you transfer that space to the studios, the actual studios?
No, in fact, all the paintings and all the space was measured before the film, So I give, in fact, all the program and all the space, the computer space that I do for not each paintings, but a few. After that, with this knowledge, they do the measurement in the studio, and they put the camera in the place I located, because I define in fact all the location of the camera, and I measure all the space before. And in fact I knew the size of the studio, because in the beginning there is not so much very big studio, because just for a scene like this one, we have to count to measure the camera is very far away for that, because we have a large, it's panoramical shot, and I think we can see on the plan that I do to the etching, the studio was 80 meters, so it's big.
So they work then with the frame that you devised on the computer graphics,
yeah,
and the measurements of the frame,
yeah,
even though the measurements, so that they work with the slightly distorted measurements of that.
yes, yes. They have to know that, and I have to give that. It was my work, my job, to paint and to do the measurement.
When they were shooting, doing the films of the Place de la Concorde, did they transform the set as well?
In fact, when you see on the film on the Place de la Concorde, it's too big. It's too big to be in the studio. So I just measure all, because in a computer it's easy. For me, it was interesting because there is another reason that I have to measure, and I have to transpose the plane. It's because I couldn't use some optic very short length, because if I use some very short one, I have some distortion of the building, and to respect the spirit of the 18th century painting, I have to have a straight, and the vertical have to be vertical, very straight. So in a computer program, I have to transform, in fact, the line of the computer program, and change some, because it's not same perspective.
Did you ever discuss with Rohmer why he wanted to do that? I mean, first, it was historical accuracy, but second, could it be that he wanted to have something more like a theater atmosphere? Because we know that Rohmer's films have never grand historical productions. They are usually like chamber theater, very small productions with very few actors, long dialogue, things like that. So why did we have that idea?
I think he was very impressed by the story and the memory of Grace Elliott, the character of the film. So he wanted to do the film, and he wanted to show the situation, the location, like in all his movie. There is no change. In his movie, there is no change. When someone have to go to one place, he took the right road, and they film on the right road, etc., etc. So, for that, it is the same idea and the same manner. And there is one thing more. I think it is for one film he did called Perceval le Gallois. I don't know if you see it. The set is built, and it was in the 70s, and the set was inspired by the Middle Age. So I think it was the same reason to show what was the culture, the culture of the height of this period, and in fact I think it is the same idea but for this film, he waits that he can he can film it because with the video and with the numeric, I don't know the term in English, the numeric and the digital, he thought he could do it. But I don't know if you see the film, because the film is very simple. There is no, it's not a demonstration of paintings and special effects at all. It is, you can see as the bridge and a panoramic view, just 6 seconds, because we know how she took the bridge and it's finished. It is, I think it is, in fact, it's very different by the process, but I think it is the same spirit. So, I'm sorry for the beginning of the lecture because I was very disturbed. I hope I answer all your questions.